The class war is not the rich versus the poor. The class war is the working class versus the capitalist class or capital owning class. And I'm going to show you how capitalists build their wealth off of the backs of the working class in a parasitic relationship. So you can understand how capitalists become billionaires under capitalism. Okay, so to show you how wealth inequality grows under a capitalist economy, I'm going to need three things. I need a piece of paper, a pencil, and myself, okay? And so to start, let's imagine that you want to start a business, okay? And you need a couple things when you want to start a business. The first thing that you need is capital, okay? And capital is all the resources, tools, machines, factories, whatever you need to go ahead and build your product or provide your service, okay? So for this particular model, we're going to make the paper is going to equal a factory, and the pen is going to equal the machines inside the factory to build my product, okay? And this is all capital. And then this is, because I need these things to make my product, this is also called the means of production, okay? Because I need these things. These are the means to produce my item, okay? However, a factory machines are pretty useless without another ingredient on top of it. The last thing you need is you need labor, right? You need a person, a working class person, to go ahead and run the machines and the factory to go ahead and build the product, okay? And let's say that with using a labor, I'm going to create a dollar sign. That dollar sign is going to equal $1 in profit for the company, okay? Of whatever my item is, okay? However, labor takes time, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see how many dollars I can make, how many dollar signs I can make in 1 minute. And I'm going to pause the video and let's see how many dollar signs I can create in 1 minute. Okay, so it's been 1 minute, and in that 1 minute, I've made 65 dollar signs. Okay, so I made $65 of profit in that 1 minute of my labor. And going forward, I'm going to change minute to hour because we talk about wages in hours, right? So in 1 hour, pretend that I made $65 for the company, okay? Now, this is where the debate of socialism versus capitalism comes in, because the question is, who gets ownership of this $65? Okay, who is entitled to it? Under capitalism, you have a private owner of the means of production, which you have to remember, the means of production is the factory and the pen. So you have a private owner who I'm going to represent as this pig here. Okay, and you have workers who I'm going to represent as this Smoliv, it's another Pokemon, okay, who made the $65 in profit, okay? And so under capitalism, the person who gets ownership of the profit that the company makes is the owner of the means. So in this case, the pig, okay? And so because the pig owns the factory and the pen, they get the $65 in profit, and what they're going to do is they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to pay you a wage back worker of $15 per hour, right? And that means what happens to that other $50? That other $50 goes to the capitalist, right? Or the private owner of the means of production. Now, you might be asking the question of why would this worker ever take that wage? Well, one, because workers don't understand this relationship. For one, they don't understand how much money they're actually making the company every hour. And two, most of the means of production, especially very complex factories, tools, and machines, are all owned by private owners at this point. So you're not going to be able to just go build your own factory and work for yourself that way. Could you work for yourself? Absolutely, but that's not going to work for all 8 billion people in the world, okay? So go back to my thing about how is wealth inequality built, right? So you have to think about this relationship here. This person, the worker, is making money, but they need to constantly be working and doing labor to build their wealth, right? If they stop working, they stop making money, okay? While this one doesn't have to work because all they did was own the means of production, and owning things does not require time. They could leave the factory and let the workers do their thing, and they're pocketing money every single hour, right? They're building wealth without having to spend the time and labor to do so, right? So over time, hour after hour, they're going to be getting more and more and more wealth, right? And then what are they going to do with that wealth that they are accumulating? I'll tell you what they're going to do. They're going to go ahead and buy even more factories. I thought I had more pieces of paper. I do, right? So they're going to go ahead and buy more factories, right? And with hire more workers and have more machines, right? Which again, how did they even earn these other factories? Through just exploiting the labor of the working class, right? And then over time, this wealth inequality builds and builds and builds. So to sum up my video, what is the class war? The class war is the people who build their wealth through their own personal labor, which is working class people, versus people who build their wealth through ownership of things, right? And as I explained, owning things doesn't build wealth on its own. The reason why they're able to make money is basically siphoning the money out of the working class. They basically are like ticks who are feasting off of the value that the working class is creating in a parasitic relationship, okay? And so all capitalism versus socialism means is it's an answer to this question. Who owns or who gets ownership of the means of production, the things that workers need to do their job, okay? Under capitalism, you have private owners of means of production. So private people can own things like factories, right? And then they can siphon wealth from the working class through that ownership, right? And those are capitalists, okay? And socialism just means that the working class owns the means of production collectively. So under socialism, capitalists, their entire class no longer exists, right? Working class exists under both systems, right? Under socialism, though, capitalists no longer exist. The ticks, the parasites are gone, and working class people can share the wealth of their labor collectively. And you're not getting someone who's just taking all of your money and building all their wealth through basically exploiting you for your labor, right? And when the wealth inequality gets so bad, they make billions and billions and billions. They buy out all the media. They basically buy out the government. They buy out everything. They own everything for themselves so that they can go ahead and spit out their propaganda to working class people that this isn't beneficial to you. And they do everything in their power to make sure that this doesn't gain traction and that this fails. They do everything they possibly can because, again, this is a threat to their existence and for them to live like gods on the planet anymore. There goes their free ticket to living like gods on the planet. And that is the class war, not rich versus poor, but labor versus capital.